Welcome to 7th class English. Good morning, children. This is R. Sujana, your English teacher. How are you all? I'm fine. Last week we completed the first unit and we completed the activities related to the first unit called the town mouse and the country mouse. Today we will start a new unit and the name of the new lesson is C.V. Raman, the Pride of India. I will show you some pictures. You just identify them. See the first picture? I am pretty sure that you can easily identify him. He is none other than great scientist APJ Abdul Kalam sir. And the second picture, he was a great scientist Sir C.V. Raman. And third person, he was a great mathematician. His name was Srinivasa Ramanujan. Okay, I'll show you other set of pictures. Can you identify the fourth person? He is very familiar. I think you all know him. He is none other than Albert Einstein. And the next picture, he was a great scientist, Isaac Newton. And the last person, he was also a scientist, Sir Alexander Fleming. Okay, can you remember the names of the 6 scientists? Okay, APJ Abdul Kalam, Sir C.V. Raman, and the Ramanujan, Srinivasa Ramanujan, and Albert Einstein, Isaac Newton, Sir Alexander Fleming. After seeing these pictures, have you got any idea or clue what ma'am is going to tell today? Yes, I am going to tell about scientist, a very famous scientist from India. Okay, today we are going to learn about very famous scientist Sir C.V. Raman. Okay, let's see. Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman was born on 7th November 1888 at Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. His father was a physics teacher and he was a brilliant student. His parents wanted him to send him abroad for his studies, but he did not go due to health issues. He completed his MA at Presidency College, Chennai. He was greatly interested in science and would spend hours working in the lab of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. So, Sir C.V. Raman's full name was Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman. He was born on 7th November 1888 at Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. What about his father? His father was a physics teacher. Right from the childhood, Sir C.V. Raman was a brilliant student. So his parents wanted him to send foreign or abroad for his higher education. But he did not go because of his health issues. So he completed his MA at Presidency College in Chennai. But Sir C.V. Raman, he was very interested in science and he used to spend many hours working in the lab of Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. All of you pick up your textbook and go to page number 24. Okay, so this is a reading card, so you have to go through it. Listen carefully, read the following passage and answer the questions that follow. So this is very important, you should listen very carefully. Okay, on the busy Bow Bazaar street in Calcutta, there was an old building. It was the headquarters of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. In December, on a fine evening in 1927, there was much excitement in one of its laboratories. Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman was showing a visitor some of his instruments when a young man, K.S. Krishnan, rushed in and announced, Professor Compton has won the Nobel Prize. Okay, so All of you go through the lines once again. So this thing happened in Calcutta. Now now we are calling it as Kolkata na. Earlier it was Calcutta. So what is the name of the street? Bobazar Street. There was an old building in Bobazar Street in Calcutta. So that was the headquarter of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. So in the month of December, on one fine evening in 1927, remember the month and year also, there was much excitement in one of its laboratories. So there are lots of laboratories available in that building. So in one laboratory, so much of excitement was going on. Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman was showing a visitor some of his instruments. So C.V. Raman was showing some instruments to a visitor. Suddenly, an young man came there. Oh, what is the name of the young man? K.S. Krishnan. He rushed in and announced, Professor Compton has won the Nobel Prize. All of you, you are all familiar about Nobel Prize. Nobel Prize is the highest prestigious prize given to different categories like science, peace, literature. So here Professor Compton, he won the Nobel Prize. So K.S. Krishnan was very happy and he told the happy news to Mr. Chandrasekhar Venkat Raman. Okay, all of you see the second paragraph. Raman was equally delighted. Excellent news, he said, smiling at the visitor, and then he was lost in thought. But look here, Krishnan, he said, turning to the young man. If this Compton effect is true of X-rays, it must be true of light too. So after listening to the K.S. Krishnan about the Nobel Prize won by Professor Compton, Raman felt very happy to know this news. He said, excellent news, and he smiled at the visitor, and suddenly he was lost in thought. Lost in thought means suddenly he went into some thoughts, giving all your attention to something so that you do not notice what is happening around you. So suddenly he said, look here, Krishnan. And he turned to the young man and said, Krishnan, I want to tell you something. If this Compton effect is true of X-rays, then it must be true of light too. Okay, so now I will tell you what exactly this paragraph is. Okay, actually Raman wanted to study the nature of light when passed through a transparent medium, but another scientist called Compton excuse me, Compton, he studied the he worked on X-rays. So Compton effect, it got the name Compton effect. So Compton effect is true for X-rays, then it can be true for light, because C.V. Raman sir, he is working on X-rays. Okay. A few years earlier, A.H. Compton had shown that the nature of X-rays changes when passed through matter. The change was dependent on the kind of the matter. This effect was called the Compton effect. So Compton effect was invented by A.H. Compton. So, but Raman, C.V. Raman, he was working for light. Okay, so for Professor Compton, he got the Nobel Prize for the Compton. So he was working on the nature of X-rays. Okay, so the nature of X-rays changes when passed through the matter. All of you see the next paragraph. Could light also change its nature when passed through a transparent medium? That was the question that Raman asked himself. For 5 years, he had been doing research in the optics, the science of light. No sophisticated equipment was available in his laboratory, but Raman was confident that he could find the answer with some modification in his experiment. So, Sir C.V. Raman, he was working on light. So he was studying about the nature of the light when passed through a transparent medium. What is the meaning of transparent? Transparent means it allows you to see through it. So it's an adjective. But Raman, he was doing research in the laboratory for the last 5 years. He had been working continuously about the science of light called optics. But the bad thing is, Raman was not having any sophisticated equipment available in his laboratory. Sophisticated means advanced and capable. But Raman was confident that he could find the answer with some modifications in his equipment. What will he do? He thought, okay, let it be. I don't have new advanced equipment, but by changing the equipment up to some extent, I can find out something. He was confident of that much. So C.V. Raman was a very confident person. So he wanted to change the equipment. Okay, after 4 months, actually, Professor Compton got the Nobel Prize in the month of December 1927, right? So after 4 months means in the month of March 16th, 1928, Raman announced his discovery of new radiation, describing the behavior of a beam of light passing through a liquid chemical to an assembly of scientists at Bangalore, now called Bengaluru. Okay, in the month of March 1928, Raman, he announced his own discovery. What was his discovery? So his discovery was about the behavior of the light passing through a transparent liquid chemical, and he had shown that thing to the assembly of scientists in Bangalore. Now Bangalore is called Bengaluru and Calcutta is called as Kolkata. The world hailed the discovery as the Raman effect. Previously, Professor Compton, he studied the he studied the Compton effect about X-rays, but C.V. Raman, he studied about light. So the world hailed the discovery as the Raman effect. That was Compton effect, and this was Raman effect. Compton effect was about X-rays, and the Raman effect was about the light. For scientific research in this country, it was a red letter day. Red letter day. So for India, it was a major achievement in those days. So for scientific research in this country, it was a red letter day. All of you underline the word red letter day. What is the meaning of red letter day? An important day is called a red letter day. So this red letter day is it is an idiom. Okay. Okay, his discovery caught the attention of the world. With the equipment hardly 200 rupees and limited facilities, Raman was able to make a discovery which won him the Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. See how confident he was. Raman sir, he discovered this Raman effect using the equipment of 200 rupees only. With that limited facilities only, he made a discovery, and it brought Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930. So Professor Compton got it in 1927 for Compton effect, and in 1930 C.V. Raman he got Nobel Prize in Physics in 1930 after 3 years of time. Let's move on to the next paragraph. Okay, you can see Sir C.V. Raman in his laboratory working on his research project. So the visitors are very curious to see. So Sir was explaining something to them. See? Okay. Raman was born on November 7th, 1888 at Tiruchirappalli in Tamil Nadu. I already told you, na, his father was a college physics teacher. He was a brilliant student right from the start. When Raman passed his matriculation, his parents were keen to send him abroad for higher studies. But on medical grounds, a British surgeon advised them against it, and Raman stayed in the country to do the MA course at Presidency College in Madras, now called Chennai. Raman was a very brilliant student since his childhood. So his parents wanted him to send to abroad for higher studies, but a British surgeon advised him not to go to abroad, because when we change from one place to another place, the climatic conditions, weather will be changing. So the Indian atmosphere or Indian weather is good for Raman. So Raman stayed in country and he did MA course at Presidency College in Madras. Now it is called Chennai. Okay, so now I told you about 3 locations. Kolkata is known as Kolkata, Bangalore is known as Bengaluru, and Madras is now called Chennai. Okay? Okay? What do you mean by a surgeon? A surgeon means he is none other than a doctor who is trying to perform surgeries. So the surgeon is a doctor and he is an expert in doing the surgeries, means operations. Okay. All of you see the next paragraph. Science had already made an impression on him, and he began to write research papers for science journals. When he was only 19, he became a member of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. Meanwhile, respecting his parents' wishes, he took up an administrative job in the finance ministry in Calcutta. His interest in science, however, did not flag. He used to spend his hours after office in the lab of the association, working throughout the night. So C.V. Raman, he started writing research papers for various science journals. So he had a remarkable history in science. When he was 19, at that young age only, he became the member of the Indian Association for Cultivation of Science. But his parents, according to his parents' wishes, he took up an administrative job in finance ministry in Calcutta. But it did not stop him. His interest in science, however, did not flag. He used to spend lots of hours in the office of the lab of association, working throughout the night. Okay, so from this paragraph you can understand that Sir C.V. Raman was very passionate about science. He wanted to discover many things for India, and even though his health is not good, he used to spend many hours in the labs. Okay, throughout the night. From this we can understand the confident nature of Sir C.V. Raman and his passion towards science, and he was a very hardworking person. In his youth, Raman was mainly interested in acoustics, the science of sound. He studied how stringed instruments like violin and sitar could produce harmonious music. Okay, so Raman was very interested in acoustics. Acoustics is the science of sound, and optics is the, what do you mean by optics? That is the science of light, and acoustic is the science of sound. So he studied how stringed instruments like violin and sitar could produce harmonious music. What do you mean by stringed instruments? Stringed instruments are the musical instruments that have strings: violin, guitar, sitar. And he just wanted to study how they produce that kind of pleasant music. Harmonious music means very pleasant music. He was elected to the Royal Society of London in 1924, and the British government made him a Knight of the British Empire in 1929. It was a high honor for any great scientist. So C.V. Raman had been elected by the Royal Society of London in 1924, and British government, they gave him the honor of Knight of the British Empire in 1929. What do you mean by knight? Knight, it was a great honor or high honor for any great scientist. His advice to the young scientist to look at the world around them and not to confine themselves to their laboratories. The essence of science, he said, is independent thinking and hard work, not equipment. So, Sir C.V. Raman, he had given a very good advice to the young scientist or the upcoming scientist. What he said, all of you, you just look at the world around you. Don't restrict yourself to the laboratory, and you just understand the essence of the science. So independent thinking is very essential. So it means that you have to think out of the box, you have to think independently, and you have to believe on your hard work, but not on the equipment. Sir C.V. Raman was able to discover Raman effect with an equipment worth of 200 rupees only. So he believed in his hard work, and he believed in his independent thinking. Okay, C.V. Raman was the first Indian scholar who studied wholly in India and received the Nobel Prize. He was the first Asian and the first non-white to win such a great award in science. He passed away in 1970 on November 21st, but his memories are with us. February 28th, the day on which he discovered the Raman effect, is celebrated as National Science Day to commemorate his remarkable achievement in science. So, Sir C.V. Raman was the first Indian scholar. He completed whole of his education in India only. He did not go anywhere for higher education. So this was the first Indian scholar, and he was the first Indian scholar to receive the Nobel Prize. And he was the first Asian, means from the Asian continent, he was the first person to receive the Nobel Prize. And he was the non-white to win such a great award in science, means he was the first person. Actually, in our Indian subcontinent, we are not as white as the foreigners, so our complexion is a bit of brownish color. But we should not think of these things. So color and all, they does not matter. So here he was the first non-white person to win such a great award in science. He passed away in 1970. Passed away means he died. He died in 1970 on November 21st. But his memories are with us. His discoveries and inventions are with us. February 28th, the day on which he discovered the Raman effect. So he discovered the Raman effect on February 28th. So that day, February 28th, is celebrated in India as National Science Day. Do you remember? We celebrate Science Day in our school also. Okay, we have metric mela and science exhibition in our school last year. So February 28th is celebrated as National Science Day to commemorate his remarkable achievement in science. So, this was the story about Sir C.V. Raman. He was such a great scientist. So, the moral of this lesson is that you have to believe in yourself and think out of the box. Means you should develop the habit of independent thinking and believe in your hard work. Okay, be confident. So I hope all of you follow my instructions. That's all for today, ma. Just go through the lesson once again. It's a reading card, so go through it once. Take care. Bye.